Sometimes research on certain records can lead you to some interesting avenues, such as the case with this song. I hadn't heard this in a long time, too. Run It by Chris Brown at number 18. Been listening to it a couple of times on YouTube to re-familiarize myself with the record. It's at number 18, down from number 12. Fantasy Playlist, November 6, 2005. Chris Brown's first hit record. And it did very well here in the States. It went to number 2 in England and Ireland, went to number 1 in Australia, New Zealand, top 10 in Germany and France. It was all over the place. Song just blew up. Chris Brown blew up. He was 16 years old. God, fancy that. And that was only about 12 years ago now. I guess he's pushing 30 now. It gets kind of interesting in the sense that this song was co-written and it was produced by a fellow named Scott Storch. Scott Storch. And he's worked with a lot of people. He's produced some tracks on the album Stripped by Christina Aguilera. He's worked with Nas, 50 Cent. Who else did he work with? Dr. Dre, T.I. Remember T.I. back in the day? What you know about that? I believe it was one of his hit records. What you know about that? Timberlake. He's worked with the who's who of the hip-hop world back in the day. In 2006, when Chris Brown, particularly when Chris Brown, when his album got really big, Scott Storch, he was worth about $70 million. $70 million. Maybe more than that. He was loaded. He was rich. And he blew it. Almost blew all of it. $30 million on a cocaine addiction. And apparently what happened, if I got the story right, he fell in with the Hollywood crowd. He stopped producing. He lived it up. He had a mansion in Florida. It was at Palm Island in Florida. He owned about 20 cars, 20 luxury cars. And he admitted that he bought half of those cars when he was high on cocaine. He leased out a Bentley for about 3 years and then returned it. He got in trouble for that. Was charged with grand theft auto or something like that later on. He owned a yacht, about 117 feet yacht. He had a private jet. It was costly. He said that a one-way trip, and I take it from Florida to Riviera, or from someplace to Riviera, a one-way trip alone in that private jet cost about $250,000. Baby, talking about living off the hog. Had that mansion in Beverly Hills, which I think was worth $10 million. It might have been more than that. And he did go into drug rehab later on, and he filed for bankruptcy a few years ago. I hope he's doing better now, because obviously he's a very talented producer. He produced this hit record by Chris Brown, his first hit record, Run It at number 18 on my fancy playlist, November 6, 2005.